Hello, welcome to the Terracotta for Hibernate sample screencast. In this screencast we'll show you how to configure Hibernate to work with Terracotta. The first thing you want to do is download Terracotta and install it. Download JBoss, which is what we'll use to run our sample application, and download the sample application from the URLs you see on the screen. Then install JBoss, install Terracotta, and unpack the sample application. I've put the JBoss and the sample application on my desktop. I like to put Terracotta in user local, so that's where I've installed it, but you can install it wherever you wish. The first step, once you've downloaded and installed the code, is to change directories into the sample code directory, and we're going to use ant to compile it. I always put clean in there as a matter of habit, but ant clean dist.war will build the war file that contains the sample application. And then we'll copy that war file, which gets built out into this target directory. We'll copy that up into JBoss. It goes into the server directory, we'll put it into default and into deploy. And then the next step is to start the HSQLDB server, which I've put included HSQLDB and a sample wrapper script for it in the sample app. So if you go into there, inside of the bin directory is a Perl script, which is just a wrapper around starting up HSQLDB. If you don't have Perl, you can look at the HSQLDB documentation and figure out what the Java command is. This is just a simple convenience, so we'll start that. Although the first thing I want to do is clean out my data directory, which might contain some old data, some old test data. So we'll start by cleaning that, and then start up HSQLDB. Now that that's started, we need to start the Terracotta server. So I start it from the Terracotta directory. And once the Terracotta server started up, we're ready to start JBoss. And that's done by the run.sh command in the JBoss bin directory. So when we start that up, it takes a little while to start up. So now that the JBoss server has started, we can switch to our web application. In our web browser, we'll go to localhost port 8080. That's where it's running. That's the main JBoss page, and then we'll go to Terracotta -hibernate-sample. You can type in index.jsp if you want, but once we hit that, it'll load the application. And when we first load the application, there's no sample data. This is basically a web wrapper around the Hibernate tutorial that you can find on hibernate.org. So we're going to add some sample events. So I created 10 sample events. Go back to my index. Now you can see I've got my 10 sample events, and then I can click on each one and show its detail. To see the actual caching in action, we're going to run background this. We're going to run the dev console. will connect. It connects to the Terracotta server to get its statistics. And then you'll see in this Hibernate tab, there's a dashboard about your Hibernate statistics. These are the Hibernate statistics that come with Hibernate, but with the advantage that the cluster stats for Hibernate of all of the Terracotta connected caches are visible in one dashboard. Now, to see the effectiveness of the cache, let's look at this second level cache panel, and we will switch over to our app and watch as we reload this event detail page. Notice that the green bar goes up, indicating that we got a cache hit. So that shows you that we're actually being cached. Now we can disable cache regions here. We can clear. We can evict all the entries. There's a number of things we can do in the console here. So now that's basically how the application works, the sample app works. So let's go back to let's look at the code and sort of see how it's all put together. I'll go to my sample application directory. It's laid out with a fairly simple structure. There's that bin directory. There's a data directory that contains the HSQL database data files. There's build XML, which is used by Maven to create the WAR. There's third-party libraries in here. I've pulled in a few things that are needed by the sample app. There's the target directory, which is where everything gets built, and then there's the source directory, which contains all the source. So let's look at the domain object event. It's pretty much this is code pretty much taken right from, as I said earlier, the Hibernate tutorial. The event class is just a bunch of getters and setters. In order to tell Hibernate that it's an actual entity, we have to configure it using an XML file, which is in this resources directory under org Hibernate tutorial domain event. Now it needs to be in the class path of the Java application. So you can see here we say that this class is mapped to the event is mapped to the table events. I've also added this cache usage stanza here, and I've configured it as read-write. That's important. You need to add this cache usage element in order for this entity to be cacheable. So there's another Hibernate configuration file, the main hibernate.cfg.xml file, which you need to make a small modification to. Out of the box, it comes with second level caching turned off. So you need to add these two properties, hibernate.cache.use second level cache, and set it to true. And you also need to set the property hibernate.cache.provider_class, and you set that to the Terracotta Hibernate cache provider. That file, that class, lives inside of the jar that comes with Terracotta, and you can see that in the Terracotta directory, in a directory called Hibernate. You can see there's a couple of jar files. One is called Terracotta Hibernate Cache, and the other is called Terracotta Hibernate Agent. The Terracotta Hibernate Cache jar contains the second level cache driver for Hibernate. The Terracotta Hibernate Agent jar contains some startup classes that need to be loaded when JBoss starts up. So the Terracotta Hibernate Cache jar needs to be in the class path of the application. If you look at the contents of the WAR, you can see here I've got all of the things from my lib directory, including Terracotta Hibernate Cache. So I put that in the lib in the web.inf lib directory of my war file. I've also had to put a bunch of other stuff in there, which is particular to getting Hibernate to work. You can also see in my war file that I've added this hibernate.cfg.xml to the classes directory, which puts it in the class path. You can also see I've added the event.hbm.xml file also to the class path. So that's the configuration for Hibernate. The way I've built the war is by using the build.xml file for Ant. There's a couple of targets that I've created. I've created a compile target, a dist.jar target, which we haven't used, but we did use the dist.war target, and it just defines some mappings of files from their source location to the war location. So we put all of the things under the web app directory in there. We put everything that's in the lib directory in there. We put everything that's in the resources directory in there, and everything that all of the classes that get compiled from the compile command we put in there too. So that's basically the build.xml for this. You can build your war using whatever tool you want. I happen to like Ant. Many people use Maven. You might have your own custom, but that's basically how you need to lay out the war for this thing, for the class path and the libraries to be put together properly. The next step is to configure JBoss, and that's done by editing the run.conf file, which is a companion to run.sh. And we need to add this Java agent flag to the Java options. Every container does it slightly differently. JBoss uses run.conf. And you just need to point it to use the Terracotta Hibernate agent jar, which, as we saw earlier, is in the Terracotta distribution under the Hibernate directory. The last thing I want to show is how to set some of the cache parameters like time to idle and time to live, so that you can set appropriate values for your cache entries. In this case, we have the event time to idle is set to 200. Let's say 200 seconds. Let's say we wanted to change that to 300 seconds. We'd change the time to idle here. That changes it at runtime. But to make those configuration properties stick, we'll want to generate the cache configuration in the dev console and then copy this into a file called tchibernate-cache.xml, and that should be right next to your hibernate.cfg.xml, and you just copy and paste it into the file, and make sure that when you build the war that it's in your class path. You can see here in our war it's under the top level classes directory next to the hibernate.cfg.xml. So that's a tour of the Terracotta for Hibernate sample. Look for upcoming screencasts on configuring Terracotta for other containers and for performance tuning, cache parameters, and Terracotta parameters for getting the most out of Terracotta with Hibernate. Thanks for watching, and check back soon.